Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, ReZero, Season 4.
Yep, ReZero, Season 4, Episode 2. Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Ryu. That's Age. We're back for more Anime Night in the Dojo, and well, we're continuing the double features. Did a big explanation as to what's going on at the beginning of yesterday, so there's that again. Have to do it for Slime, just in case, the stuff we talked about. But, you know, that is what it is. Subaru had a interesting campfire chat. We talked about that yesterday. Once again, I don't know if Anastasia really needed anything super special, but I guess all the royal candidate members need something, so that is what it is. And my voice is dying on me, so I apologize ahead of time, just in case I'm doing this. Don't know what the hell, I haven't really talked at all today. But, yeah, it's just going out on me for some reason. But I will power through this. But either way, they went back to the mansion to pick up Rem. Well, I guess this is a just-in-case measure in case the Sage can help her. It's kind of like a weird thing to do. It's like, well, instead of just going out there and being like, hey, we have this problem, can you do something about it? It's kind of like taking somebody to a non-specialist doctor and being like, hey, can you help with this super specialized thing without knowing ahead of time?
Well, it's two main things. It's Subaru's pride. Once again, like he explains to Ram, he wants to be the one to save her, and he wants to be like the one there when she's saved. And number two, it's bringing an example case, not just going to the Sage and being like, hey, we have this problem, can you fix it? It's, hey, here, we have an example, can you fix this?
Yeah, I suppose. I guess if she can fix Rem's problem, she should be able to fix the lesser problems that, like, Julius has. You know what I mean? If she can fix name and memories, then she should be able to fix memories and or names individually. So I guess that's something, but it's still kind of weird in a way. But yeah, I guess the example scenario, I guess you could explain it to her, but it's just like, well, unless you bring me an example, then I can't help you. So it's kind of like getting a cancerous tissue sample and be like, here's my problem. So yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, we don't know if Shaola can leave the tower or not. Because once again, she's like supposed to be there, keeping an eye on freaking Satella.
Yeah.
So bringing an example of what they need to fix to her makes sense.
Indeed. So we'll just have to see where this goes from here. About it, you know, we just have to see how this season plays out. I do know that they that at least Subaru and Amelia get outfit changes, and I'm just gonna say this: I'm not a fan of them. It's like they went from having like a very good design to like, you know, like your WoW character not using transmog and you're just covered in greens. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. Amelia's isn't that bad, but Subaru's it's still just kind of like, you know, somebody vomited up Dwight Schrute's like reject pile and threw a cape on it.
Yeah, for what I remember, like I like glanced at it, but from what I remember seeing, it actually reminds me a lot of Kazuma, but bulkier.
Yeah. So, anyway, I just like to find a thing to complain about when it comes to Subaru, but I know bad design when I see it. Clashing colors, non-contrasting colors, just stuff thrown in. That is what it is. We're going to push some buttons and get going here, so people on Patreon will see on the other side of the edit for the time reaction, and people on YouTube beyond will see on the other side for the discussion and review, and all links are down there in the description. Check it out, watch what you want, check out the intro video if you have some questions about us and whatnot. So, here goes something. Well, alright then, there you guys have it. Episode 2 is in the books, and, well, there's already two deaths. Via sniper needle. I mean, that's one way to use a needle, I guess. I mean, you put enough magic force behind anything. I mean, let's face it. How many times have you guys seen, you know, a supreme construction of metal or something just have a rock dropped on it and it gets taken out? You know what I mean? You don't need a 50 caliber, like, you know, hollow point bullet to do the job. If a rock hits you at that same speed, it's going to do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, she's literally doing like a magic railgun, essentially, because that's literally how a railgun functions too. All it usually fires is a small, like, really thin needle of metal. But if you fire it at a high enough velocity, it will still do massive damage.
Yep. So either way, we'll get to that in a little bit here. But we got Ground Dragon number 2, big guy, who, well, he can be soothed. Patrochet cannot, because she is, well, she's had the most personality of any animal character that doesn't have like a supreme role in a series. Like, say, I don't know, like, what was like Ark's little fox thing from Skeleton Knight? Anta. you know, like animal characters like that. Patrochet, whenever she's around, she's always doing something. You know what I mean?
Being incredibly jealous of any attention Subaru gets from anyone but her.
Yeah. So you better hope that this doesn't go full shield hero and eventually she can assume human form, because then it's all over. Okay? I don't even want to think about that. And inexplicably, she'll be a little girl in stature, and then Subaru will just get completely labeled even harder. You know what I mean? Remember, using like 4 little girls or whatever it's been throughout the whole series, none of them underage. They're just short. Gets you a label.
Petra, I believe.
Oh, yeah, Petra. She's like what? She's like 12, right?
Yeah.
But you know, that is what it is. You know. But either way, this is an interesting party they've assembled for this. Obviously, Melee doing her job. You know, once again, it's just like the people who are supposed to be doing their job well, when a job is I can't speak because my voice I can feel it. If you guys have ever had a problem with your voice, I can feel it like wanting to stop and like cough, and I'm like forcing it through, and now I can't speak. Ugh. There was a lot of talking going on during the episode, so I didn't really have to worry about it. I thought it might go away after I took a couple of swigs of water, but apparently not. It's a good thing we're not doing another recording tonight, otherwise I'd be screwed. Anyway, I digress from my problems. If someone's doing their job incredibly well, generally speaking, it looks like they're doing nothing at all. You know what I mean? Yeah, especially in cases like that. And then she just kind of proves her point with the giant sandworm that was looking to get suplexed by Ark, since, you know, I brought him up. But that's a next season problem. Well, we got the classic, you know, bar at the edge of the abyss kind of situation. Those kind of towns are always fun. You know what I mean? Even though we didn't get really anything on the town, it's just probably just like your atypical, like, Western trading town of just, you know, it always has to have a bar and a bartender who has experience, because that's why he has a prosthetic leg. He was one of the fools who went into the dunes and tried, but he came back somehow. It only cost him a leg, and probably that scar on his face.
Yeah, I mean, presumably he didn't even make it far enough to get sniped. It was just a mob beast or something that attacked him.
Right, because as per, you know, what's her name? I just said her name. Melee doing her job properly. Most of the people who go out into the dunes, the mob beasts are the problem. So, you know, not getting to the point where you can get sniped is already a major problem. So, especially with now that we understand how the dunes work, it's a weird space-time dimensional distortion, kind of like Beatrice's doors.
Yeah, that was my first assumption, was that it was going to function like Beatrice's doors, and Beatrice is probably going to be the key to getting through it. But apparently it took them until the very end there to actually put that together.
Right. Which it was completely by accident, because they put a magic nullification zone on top of a place that's distorted, so that just kind of breaks everything. So that was kind of a problem. But, you know, as for the rest of this, just kind of like atypical Subaru Julius jabbing, that kind of thing. It's fairly classic. You got to appreciate the comedy in between all the super dark stuff that we did get, because, you know, the first death, you got sniped. Okay? That is what it is. Nothing super heart-wrenching about that. The second one, not only did Patricia take the bullet for him and he had to watch her die, it didn't stop the needle, took him out, and then the second shot, he had to watch Beatrice die before he died.
Yeah.
With her, you know, losing it too, having to watch him die. So that was already, we've already gotten into the brutal deaths kind of stuff already here. With the quick, easy one, which usually happens to Subaru, where he gets RKO'd and doesn't understand what happened. And then, you know...
Yeah, generally the first death is basically just enough information to alert him that he has to be prepared for an incoming death, but doesn't really give him any information as to what the actual threat is, just that there is one.
Right. And at the end of the day, let's be real, you see a flash of light coming from a tower, you gotta assume sniper. Now, to be fair, we saw how fast that needle was moving. We understand how magic works. He didn't have a lot of time to react or remember, and since his reset point was, what, 30 seconds ago?
Yeah.
Tops in universe, you know what I mean? So that's not a lot of time to formulate or crowdsource a new plan.
Yeah, like I was saying in the episode, this is the closest between a reset and the point of his death that we've had so far. So he has like basically no time to actually freaking react to change anything.
Right. So this
usually he has hours or even days to set things up between his reset point and his death point.
Right. Like, so trying to remember, like in season 3, it was like what? At least half an hour, because it was like he was talking to Priscilla and Amelia and the little bard girl, like in the town square or whatever, and then he went off and found what's his name, and then they went to the square together where Wrath was doing her sermon thing. So it was a reasonable amount of time.
Which that previously was like his shortest respawn, being only like half an hour. All of his previous ones before that were at least several hours, and some of them for multiple days.
Right. So that kind of begs the question, like, what constitutes a reset point? And not that I think this is going to happen, because this is already pretty short, but the more times that he has like a checkpoint usage, does the timer get shorter and shorter? You know what I mean? Which, if it's going to get this short, how much shorter could it possibly get without it being ridiculous? You know what I mean? So I don't think that's a thing, but it's just kind of something to kind of like randomly pontificate on. Like, well, is this happening? Because it just seems to keep getting shorter, but it's not going to get much shorter than this. What's it going to be? Like 5 seconds? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. The only thing we've ever really gotten on his deaths is just if he keeps dying on a specific checkpoint. It seems like there potentially is going to be some repercussion to that eventually, because of the whole thing of like the witch's miasma getting stronger on him every death.
Yeah.
But we've never gotten any sort of indicator between different checkpoints there being any sort of like growing ramification. It always seems like he just resets once the new checkpoint is placed.
Yeah. So either way, not really a huge amount to really say about this episode. It was fine. These things were pretty interesting. You know, we got some new mob beasts. That was cool. I could make an 8 freaking bears joke, because they're supposed to be bears, and there was at least 8 of them chasing them.
Yeah, apparently these are some sort of mob beast that they're ambush predators. They make themselves look like the field of flowers and then attack you when your guard's down.
Right. So that's pretty interesting. There's probably like 8 of them back there, right? No problem. We could throw that magic card up there. No big deal. But yeah, it's always nice to see kind of like a new design and stuff like that. It's pretty cool to have something like that. I appreciate that. You never think of a bear as an ambush predator, and that's why it's kind of cool. You know what I mean? If it was like a snake or something, that'd be like atypical. You know what I mean? Like a snake or scorpion or spider. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. The atypical things that like to hide and wait and, you know, ambush you kind of deal. So a bear, generally speaking, you're gonna see the bear coming. So, yeah, bear as an ambush predator is kind of neat. I appreciated that one.
Horde of bears thinking camouflage.
Yeah, and they had a really neat design, unlike Subaru's traveling attire. Now, Amelia looks like she needs to be in Super Bunny Man 2. So, you know, I'm going to criticize their attire, okay? Amelia at least still has her color scheme. But, you know, Subaru usually wore his tracksuit, so that is what it is. But
Subaru, yeah, he kept the orange, but none of the rest of his usual colors.
yeah, so I don't know. I think he went like a little too hard on like the medieval knight like casual wear. I don't know. It just there's something to me about, for me as somebody who's done graphics design and art and stuff like that. Like I look at stuff like, you know, like Julius and the knight's attire. You know, it has complementing colors, stuff like that, what have you. And I know it's complete function over fashion for him and stuff like that. But for like a main character like that, this attire for him is incredibly just, it kind of like brings him down. You know what I mean? Because it's memorable because it's ugly. You know what I mean? And I'm all for function over something looking good in general. You know what I mean? But Julius is outside the whole time. He hasn't changed a damn thing. He can't even commune with his spirits properly right now because they're in that weird limbo of, we have a contract with this guy, but we have no idea who he is. So we can't leave, but we're not going to work either.
Yeah.
So it's not like he can just kind of like protect himself like Melee isn't protecting herself, you know, that kind of thing. She has her original attire that we saw her in, like when she was in the forest and whatnot, near the Roswell's mansion, that kind of thing. So I don't know, it just seems kind of weird. Like I'm all for characters changing their attire. You know what I mean? Like I don't have a problem with characters having like a slightly different attire for a new arc or a new season. You know, One Piece does that for every arc, and that's cool. Sometimes multiple times per arc. You know, even if it's only a few times where a character changes their clothing, it's better than just having that like one set of clothing. You know, like Homer Simpson in his white shirt and his blue pants the whole time. Now he does change his clothes every once in a while, but still, you guys know what I mean. It's just like the atypical character in the same stuff all the time. You know what I mean? It's kind of nice to mix it up every once in a while, but this kind of thing is just, I don't know, from a design standpoint, it's just like, I understand that it would function. I mean, it's doing what it's supposed to, but I don't know. This is a show we're talking about, so sometimes you just gotta kind of make it look cool. You know what I mean? It doesn't detract from me. I'm looking at it and I'd just be like, this is your main character? If you put like just a shot of like all these characters here, you know, this is pretty much all Subaru really needs. It's like what Rom's doing. She's in her maid outfit with a cloak and a hood. Subaru could have just worn his freaking, you know, tracksuit and put a freaking cloak around it and put his glove on to, you know, hide his or protect his, you know, dragon damage. You know what I mean? That's about it. So sand is a big deal. I'm not downplaying sandstorms and all that. Sand is horrendous. I don't want to do it. I've done it once. It sucks. You absolutely want to protect yourself. But it's just one of those things where, like Age said, he kept the orange and black in the cloak and hood, but the rest of it is like, I don't even know what to compare it to. Like I said, it reminds me of, like, I mentioned the Dwight Schrute thing. It almost looks like what Dwight wears when he hosts his garden party. You know what I mean? If I can find that still, I'll have Victoria throw it up right there for you. I'm sure there's a clip on like the Office YouTube of him, like when he's like, Mr. James Halpert, over and over and over again, because he's trying to do garden party. The only thing Subaru doesn't have is a freaking top hat. So, I don't know. It's just a random small gripe. It doesn't detract from the rest of the episode. It's just a personal thing that I can make fun of Subaru for, and that's just what I like to do. I have to rip on the guy for something, you know. But at the end of the day, you know, this was we had one quick death, and then the savage one that has to, you know, like hit you in the brutal, you know, hit you in the feels, and this one was obviously pretty brutal. You know, once again, seeing Patricia die, that sucks, but then, you know, seeing Beatrice completely breaking down, and then having to watch her die, and then getting sniped a fourth time. You know what I mean? So at the very least, even as brutal as this second death was, at least Subaru got to kind of like put together like, okay, we're being sniped at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you just kind of get your melon popped, you have no idea what really happened. You see a flash of light, and then it's like, I'm dead. It's like, what the hell happened? You know what I mean? So you kind of need to see something. So that is what it is.
Yeah, this still isn't as brutal as some of his previous deaths, but it was still fairly rough. Like probably his roughest death is still the friggin' Betelgeuse like breaking all of Rem's bones in front of him.
Yeah. That was there have been some brutal ones. I mean, at this point in the series, there's been a lot of them.
Yeah.
Some of them more brutal than others, but a lot of them, like this first sniper one, was probably the cleanest, most painless one that he's had. I can't think of a cleaner, more painless. Just don't know what happened. Doesn't have to like suffer the mental anguish backlash of something horrible happening slowly or something. You know what I mean? It's just boom, gone.
Yeah, like the only other death he's had that's been like this quick and like this little information for him was like back in season 1 when he very first shows up on the manor and Rem kills him that first time.
Yeah.
Where he's just kind of wandering down the hallway and then just suddenly she fucking just maces him in the face.
Yeah. I don't know. This episode was fine. We're setting up the story. Obviously, there's somebody in that tower. We got to see them making the face and talking about how they finally found him. It's like, what do you mean? If you're one of the people at the tower and you're staying in the tower, how does that constitute you looking for somebody? Wouldn't it have been better? Now, this could have been a translation thing, because to me, that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? From that kind of perspective. Well, like, just talking about it now, it's like, what do you mean I found you? That's like somebody staying at home their whole life and somebody shows up at their door and it's like, oh, hey, I finally found you, man. It's like, don't you mean you finally came to me? You know what I mean?
It's probably a thing of she knew someone equivalent to Subaru was coming, and the whole like getting to the tower is a test, and the person she's waiting for.
Yeah, I guess she could be being like I finally found the person that is like of stature or whatever that I'm looking for. You know what I mean? So I guess you could say that from, it's like, hey, I found you by doing what I'm doing. So yeah, I guess that sort of tracks, but it's still just kind of like a weird thing for me, for like just assuming that person is just one of the people that watches over Satella. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It's just kind of a weird statement. It's kind of hard to find somebody when you're standing dead ass still the whole time.
I mean, we don't know how many people are in the tower, but I'm just going to assume, for now at least, that is Shaula. But yeah, like, God, that's just what I'm going to go on for the time being, is that is Shaula, and that for some part of her sitting watch over the tower is that she put all this up. She put all this up for the purpose of trying to find someone who's capable of actually getting through it.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Trying to think the over-under on them. Well, they can't really get sniped again because now that they've broken the, whatever you want to call this, they've broken the dimension here at the end. And they kind of fell through it. It'll be interesting to see what happens after this. Like, where are they going to end up? Is the whole region going to be affected by this? Like, what the hell happens here? Because we saw what happened with Beatrice's doors. You know what I mean? So we'll just
they're either going to end up in the non-distorted actual space, or they'll probably end up in some like weird limbo space between dimensions, and Beatrice is going to have to door them back into reality.
Right. So, some interesting stuff on the horizon. 2 quick deaths. Those aren't one of the spoiler things that Age and I mentioned last time. So,
Yeah, I do.
It does
I knew
constitute
he
early,
died.
but this isn't the thing that we heard about. Because we all know he's going to die. So that's not really a spoiler. You know what I mean? We're not saying how many times or where, but, you know. We all know that his deaths aren't going to be done by episode 2.
Yeah, he has been getting better about not dying as often as the series has gone on, and that was just something that I did know, was that he died at some point in these first few episodes again.
Right. But either way, like I did talk, since we're on that topic really quick here at the end, I did mention, like, you know, him being better. This is one of those situations that, yeah, you can't really plan for being sniped at, you know, whatever that speed was. Probably bare minimum,
Yeah.
you know, around the speed of sound. You know what I mean? If you get literally RKO'd and you don't know what happens, there's not much you can plan for. You know what I mean? He's not going to have a contingency plan for everything. You know what I mean? It's just, it is what it is. I'm not, you know, going to rag on him for, like, I can't believe he didn't think there'd be a sniper in the tower. You know what I mean? Subaru didn't prepare for a railgun. What a tool.
Yeah, we might have to go back and rewatch it to make sure, but I'm pretty sure it is faster than the speed of sound, so pretty sure the shot hits before you hear the sound.
Yeah.
But,
Which, since this isn't a traditional sniper rifle, I don't even know if there is sound. It's just the light of the spell, right?
No, you hear like the whistle of the needle going through the air.
Yeah, I suppose. So, either way, it will be interesting to see what they do with this. Also, I want to point out that, once again, these towers are called the Pleiades Towers. That has mythological significance. So I'm interested to see if they do anything with that. And we'll talk about it if it gets there. If you know what the Pleiades are, you know. Not Ainz's Pleiades, okay? That's a different kind, but still fairly relevant, but the actual Pleiades. So, yeah, that's something that I wanted to throw in here as well. It's like, I'm interested to see if that has any generally speaking, when there's that kind of mythos inserted into, you know, this kind of fiction, it generally has something to do with the original. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I'm assuming that's Shaola, by the way, is because we see that she's sniping from the main tower, so I assume each of the towers has a different sage in it, and she's, being the main, like, great sage, is in the central tower.
Right. So, lots of interesting stuff on the horizon. Looking forward to that. We'll be back next Wednesday with more ReZero, keeping the double features going for the better part of the next month, probably till around the beginning of July, and caught up. And, see where we're at, because they did say originally that this was supposed to be a split core. 19 episodes, I believe, is the number, for whatever reason. So if they don't split it, then we suck it up and just keep going during the summer season, and we have to do a bunch of stuff. But that is what it is. We'll just have to see. But as far as I know, episode 8 just aired, so we're getting close to that potential halfway point, kind of like what they did last season. So we'll just have to see. And by the time we catch up, we'll know. You know what I mean? In the next month, we'll know, because if they get to 12 and they haven't split it, then they're probably not going to split it. You know what I mean? Because I can't imagine they'll do 12 and 7. Oh, that'd be kind of weird.
Yeah, but by the time we get there, they'll either have stopped or they haven't.
Yep. So, at least with our disaster of scheduling and what happened with Age, somehow things might work out okay. But anyway, I'm going to go figure out what's going on with my voice, because this is horrendous, you guys. I'm trying super hard to not, like, crack and cough constantly here. So, once again, glad we're not recording anything else tonight, because there is no way I would make it. It's bad. It's starting to really hurt. So, I'm going to wrap this up.
We have 8 more recordings tonight.
Yeah, we have to do like 27 more things. Oh, God. But anyway, I apologize again for myself, but hopefully it wasn't too bad. Anyway, you got anything else for this one, Age?
Julius got to Perry.
Julius did get to Perry. How about that?
Yeah, once again, I mentioned this last episode, but if it wasn't for the fact that Reinhard cheats, Julius probably would be the strongest knight in the order,
Yeah. And
even if he's now spiritless.
right. And we've seen him as the Spirit Knight so far, so it's going to be kind of interesting to see how he fights just as a swordsman. You know what I mean? So that should be pretty neat, especially since we did we didn't see how he lost his name. You know what I mean? We didn't see what happened with that fight. He was just fighting Guy, and that was it. You know what I mean? They just kind of left him there, and then the next time we saw him, it was like, "Hey, Julius, what's up? Subaru, you know my name," and then fade to black for the end of the season.
Yeah. Which it is also worth noting. I was going to mention that as well. You bringing up Gluttony. Gluttony's the only Archbishop we see predominantly in the OP, so presumably we're going to see at least one of the Gluttonies during this season.
Right, and assuming that's the OP or the ED, it's probably the OP, but once again, we've only got one of them so far. But that's usually how ReZero functions, which is totally... I guess we did talk about it a little bit in the reaction there, that we did get a montage of Subaru's deaths, and usually it's kind of foreshadowing some of the stuff that happens in the season, because that's what they did last season, and I believe in season 2. Every season, the OP has shown off at least one of Subaru's deaths, and it's been from that season. Yeah. This is the first time we've got a montage of his deaths, and it's him reminiscing through a bunch of his previous deaths. Yeah. So if you pay attention, you can see him him getting gutted by Elsa and a handful of other ones that he's done previously. Right. So anyway, to not risk any further damage to whatever's happening with me right now, I'm gonna go find some tea or something after this and ready to record more Slime tomorrow. But yeah. This is fine. This has been solid so far. I don't really have any complaints other than the fact that I don't like Subaru, but once again, that just means I don't like him, generally speaking. Terrible character. Except when he is a terrible character. He's slowly grown out of that, so I'm sure it'll be okay.
Yeah, neither of us really like him, but he is still better than Sid or a handful of other freaking Isekai protagonists.
Yeah, so... once again, I rag on him because I don't like him, not because I think he's a super bad character. I want to make sure that point is across every time that kind of thing comes up. So, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond how you're watching, as always, we appreciate you, and have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you, and we'll see you next week for more ReZero. So, see you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.